just call myself Stalin Alan Watts.
Stalin Alan Watts. Wait, how'd you get into Alan Watts? Like, what's the story there?
I got into Alan Watts a long time ago, just through you know, that YouTube channel Melody Sheep.
Yeah.
I started listening to him a while back ago, just through that channel, and then I got it more into him about 2-3 years ago.
Are you? I mean, you're. Yeah, I've seen this term. What is it? Atheistic meta-pantheism.
Yeah, atheistic metapantheism.
Okay. Now, how does that relate to Alan Watts' philosophy and the core tenets of Buddhism?
It really relates to his stuff because it really relates. His stuff is what's really inspired me and really came out of it. And he described himself as a pantheist. And when I really thought about it recently, I did too, but not in the same way that he did.
Okay.
So I really tried to put a label on it, and I was still more agnostic atheist.
Right.
And but at the same time, I felt like I had a lot of the pantheist views that Alan Watts did. Because I just listened to him so much and gained a lot from him, I guess. But
okay.
Yeah,
right on.
like
no, like when we're talking pantheism, I'm not super familiar with that. Like kind of.
Well, the pantheism view is that the whole universe is God. In the real sense, not in the symbolic sense or anything like that, or metaphorical sense. In the real sense, the pantheist view is that the whole world or the whole universe is God, including everything.
Very much. Okay, so to use a goofy example, as if it were that one Futurama episode.
Which one? The one with the galaxies that was talking to him? Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I get what you mean. All right, yeah, I've had that thought once or twice myself. All right, well, fair enough. So in a way, you look at this as even it being atheistic. You look at it.
I'm looking at it more in a naturalistic sense than a supernatural sense.
Okay.
Maybe I could call it naturalistic metapantheism, but I feel like that doesn't really
capture it. I gotcha. Okay. I think I understand where you're coming from here.
Yeah.
Well, fair enough.
I guess we could start with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what exactly are you hoping for me? Like, you want me to do dictation for you, so write down like the core tenets of this? Are we?
Yeah. We'll probably do it. How many days a year off? We'll probably do it in like 1 hour or three. I don't know how much time you got right now.
I mean, I got as much time as I generally need to, you know?
I mean, like, I don't want to take up 4 hours of your time in one whole block. Right now, just sitting there doing it.
Right.
So
well, I've got this recording. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to record this and
okay.
Go back over it and pick out the parts that don't need, do some basic editing there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And okay. But I guess I can try to start off. You can incorporate some of that beginning stuff also somewhere. Okay. But I'll start off with trying to explain atheistic metapantheism.
Okay.
Let me get started. My definition of atheistic metapantheism incorporates Taoism, Buddhism, Hinduism, and symbolism, and not only symbolism, the symbolism of colors and numbers, and also shapes, I would say.
Okay.
Also astrology, that kind of symbolism. But going back towards the religious part of it, the core tenets of it is really Taoism and the text of the Tao Te Ching and what is called the Tao, or living in harmony of the way. And let me try to think. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I didn't know if you can hear me when I was talking low or not.
Yep, we're all good.
Maybe if you help me ask questions about it.
Okay. All right. So if we're talking about the Tao, the main core tenet is living in tune with existence.
Yeah.
So
really, it goes into the Tao and what could be called emptiness, or the grounded being, or nothingness, emptiness with Buddhism also, or the Godhead with Hinduism, the Brahman or Shiva. But in a naturalistic sense, that if those gods, if any of the gods of the Hindu religion existed, then they exist in a naturalistic sense, or in a metaphysical sense.
So it's in the same way that most older religions, the gods existed as the concepts of themselves.
Yeah.
The concepts of nature.
not just only concepts, but constructs. Naturalistic constructs like pi is a naturalistic construct that's found in nature everywhere. Not everywhere, but in a lot of places. The same thing with the golden ratio is a naturalistic construct that is represented in nature and in a lot of things. The same thing with I believe it's the same thing with the yin and yang with Taoism. Yin and yang is a naturalistic construct that the black and white is one is 0 and one is 1. And it's like the binary code of nature. And I think the same thing with the I Ching, with the broken lines and unbroken lines. With that, and they're naturalistic constructs that we've been able to perceive, and I think that's how the Hinduist gods and even the Buddhist deities, other Buddhist deities, if they can be called that,
Okay.
have been perceived by us and been given our own humanistic faces and shapes too.
Right. Okay, they've been personified in our collective consciousness. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so if we're talking about that, what are we actually? What are the not necessarily just the tenets of faith, but what are we looking to enact on the world? And
what did you say? I can't hear you so much.
Oh, okay. So in not necessarily just the way of faith, but what are the tenets in how we are to interact with the world?
I think how we're supposed to interact with the world really boils down to living in the way with the Tao and living in the right action, which I've come to the conclusion is living in the right action and living in harmony with the Tao. Is really living in harmony with yourself and being in harmony with yourself, and not just, and that includes living in harmony with your ego and your shadow self and your shadow side, living in harmony with your light side and your dark side of the yin yang. And living in the right action, I believe it's being present in the present moment and having compassion and love for all beings, and that's how to live in the right action.
Okay. What do you think of what's the ideal of non-action.
Non-action can be a very big part of it too. Wu Wei, what's called Wu Wei in Zen, can be a very big part. You can act without acting. I mean, say you had a really pressing matter, say, you was going through a divorce, and a lot of things was piling up on you, and you didn't know what to do, and you felt like there was a lot of confrontation in the divorce proceedings, and you, instead of proceeding and getting tangled up in that, all those dealings and everything, and you weren't ready to get into it in the first place, you could just be still and not act on it at all, and for an extended period of time, not the whole time, of course, but for an extended period of time, and see if anything solves itself or works itself out in any way. It's also say meditating or being in solitude could be also called acting without acting. If someone is in solitude, self-imposed solitude especially, they're not interacting with a lot of people, and they're not communicating to a lot of people at all. If they're really secluded, and that non-action can have a lot of effects on a lot of people. Your absence can make people think about you, of course, and make people want to reach out to you, and other implications.
Okay. All right, and all right. So we've gone over concepts and how we wish to interact with the world. Let's talk about how we wish to affect the world, how we wish to change the world.
I think the best way to change the world is that you can change yourself first. If you know that you've got a lot of problems, and you've got a lot of neuroses, it's better to work on yourself a little bit first, as much as possible. If you're not in harmony with yourself, you're not going to be in harmony with the world, I feel like.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
and you're not going to be able to affect change if you're not in harmony with the world. Any how should I say this? Any successful life coach or guru or even military general is going to be able to tell you that if you don't know yourself, you're not going to be able to know and interpret and to be able to change the things in the world that you want to be able to change.
Okay. So, in some way, viewing the world as an extension of yourself. And
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that I like that. I like that idea. Actually, the circles right back around to the whole meta existence. All right.
We can talk a little bit more about the atheistic, naturalistic side of meta-pantheism, if you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, the naturalistic or atheistic side of it would be that everything is natural, even the things that man has made is natural by extension of man making them, because man is a part of the nature. I feel like everything in the universe is natural. I mean, it's by processes that we are doing. It's like we are synthesizing new things, like plastic. A lot of people think plastic is not a natural substance, but we are just a natural process that came out of the earth that is synthesizing a new substrate, just like how the earth produces diamonds and rubies. We are processing and synthesizing new, not elements, I wouldn't call it that, but new substrates and materials from the natural world. And a lot of people see it's disconnected from the natural world, but we are just synthesizing new natural materials that is still part of the natural universe and inside of the natural universe.
Okay, and so like this idea that like progressing of technology and the creating of new substances to make our lives easier is as natural as it would be to live in
I mean, we are mainly water and carbon based. That's the majority of our elements is carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And these elements, by and large, and with a few other, some other elements combined into us, has become self-aware and is synthesizing new elements, just like how stars were mainly helium and hydrogen based. And lithium, I think some early stars had lithium in them, and other trace elements, I believe. But those stars synthesize new elements by colliding together, exploding. Yeah.
Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So the natural progression of these new elements is simply another process of the universe and its existence, its process. Okay. I get that. That actually makes a lot of sense. I respect that. Okay. Continue, please.
Okay. Let's see. okay, well, I'm gonna delve into how the metaphysical and the spiritual is also natural and not unlike the supernatural, which everybody believes it is.
Okay.
This is a really important part of atheistic metapantheism, that the supernatural has always been viewed as outside of the natural and unexplained, but I feel like it is totally be able within our grasp to explain maybe some right now and maybe sometime in the future able to explain it by scientific methods and testing. Purest scientific methods and testing, that is.
Okay.
That whatever concepts that we delve up our process of our natural brains and naturalistic processes of the universe, that at the core of our brains and our bodies, they are still quantum physical in nature, and that there's still a natural process. Just like I feel like a lot of people would say that God is, the concept of God is supernatural in a lot of sense, or spirits, or the energy associated with chakras, with Hindu religious philosophy. But these concepts have developed out of our naturalistic processes of our brains that, you know, came out of the earth and came out of the universe. Yeah, and
I think I'm having a bit of a hard time following. You're saying that to separate these concepts of God and things like the chakra and the supernatural, they are not separate, but are very much a part of existence. I mean,
yeah, they're very much a part of our natural universe, and
right.
They're not supernatural at all, because they came out of the natural universe.
Okay.
It's a distinction. It's a separateness and a distinction that I feel like people are wanting to make, because they, right now, this moment, the testing of chakras haven't been fully done, and maybe right now can't be at this moment with their level of technology, but or couldn't be fully, but it's almost like in the symbology of, say a father and a son. There's a father that has a son, and say the father is totally against the army of their country and of and totally against the country, and against the army of the country of itself. And there's a separation between the son and the father when the son wants to join the army of the country.
Okay.
There is a longing to be there's a longing that, how would I say this? The father just can't understand it. He can't understand what's going on. How did this come about? And the father is just totally confused as how these things how this is operating and what's going on. And the same thing is true with the metaphysical and the supernatural. I feel like we put the label of metaphysical and supernatural onto these naturalistic concepts that came about through naturalistic processes of our brains and of the universe within them, that we are taking a cold, analytical, holistic approach to it. Holistic in the sense of wanting to figure out how these concepts correspond to the natural world also, instead of, well, I can't test it right now at this moment, that means it's supernatural. But in fact, it's just you not coming to grips that it is a naturalistic process that formed these concepts.
Okay, I get what you're saying, man. All right. Huh. Okay. All right. I think I generally understand, or I have a very basic, understanding of atheistic pantheism. At the very least, I understand enough to, give it a good rundown. Let's talk about why these beliefs have led you to communism.
Well, really, I got into communism beforehand and socialism beforehand. Really, what led me, I feel if you want to go very far back into my history, what led me into communism, socialism, would be I don't fully know, but
well,
I feel like politics politics was usually never discussed in one side of my family, and the other side was usually discussed in the morning or with the nightly news as a child. And I feel like that led me to becoming more politically aware in my late 20s, middle 20s, late 20s. And with the election of Obama, I wanted to vote, but I didn't know any of the rules at the time. I don't think I wasn't allowed to vote because I didn't sign up in time. I didn't register in time. But I was happy with the election of Obama and the second election with Obama. But maybe towards the end of the last term of Obama, I was kind of disappointed in a few things. That he was still using, we still in 2 wars at the time, that they were still using drone strikes, that he really didn't push for gay marriage. He just came out in support of it, that he didn't really push for universal health care, that he compromised for a Republican Mitt Romney care plan, and that really led me to becoming more of an independent progressive, and supporting Bernie Sanders in 2016.
Okay.
And with Bernie being cheated and pretty much shut out by the establishment at the time, the ruling class of the DNC, and I didn't fully become socialist or anything like that at the time. I wasn't even a democratic socialist. I just called myself independent progressive. So after the second time, Bernie was pretty much cheated and steamrolled by all the Democrats in the DNC the second time around, before the Super Tuesday, where Elizabeth Warren didn't drop out, and all the other Democratic candidates got behind Biden to give Biden the advantage. That really showed me that electoralism within the two-party duopoly, the two-party system, wasn't going to work anymore, and we needed a major actual revolution instead of one held within the party like Bernie's revolution that he tried to do. We needed one that worked outside of the system and defeated it. Yeah. So I started getting so-called quote-unquote radicalized by that, and just following more socialist and communist stuff online, and watching more leftists on YouTube, which I'm sorry to say that I thought Vosh was a leftist when I was getting into socialism.
I think she's better than young socialist.
I think I fell for that. So.
Okay. Well, where do you consider yourself among the wide variations of communism?
I consider myself ML, but I mean, if you want to go that basic definition, but I have a lot of views that some maybe traditional MLs wouldn't have. Like, I don't believe that we should have a vanguard. I think we should have more of a united front party and utilizing mass line organizing at the same time. So I differ in that way, and I don't think we should have a parliament either. I mean, if we had a parliament, it'd be better to just have a Congress and not a Senate, so as to not have gridlock. But I really don't like that either. I feel like it could be more democratic by us voting either by paper ballots or a combination of paper ballots and voting on our phones, and voting securely through phones or computer or online, which can be easily done because we have secure encryption now. And I really want a more direct democracy than a parliament type of communism. So, I mean, traditionally, I wouldn't say I'm Marxist-Leninist, but I still have a lot of those, I hold to a lot of those revolutionary ideas and ideals.
Okay, we're right on with that.
Especially with the revolution and how to defeat the ruling class and the rich, the bourgeoisie that are influencing the government.
All right. Let's see. What's your take on Trotskyism?
Really conflicted with it. I don't favor it at all. Modern day Trotskyism, I don't know how they're really forming their ideals because I'm not in that sphere. But the traditional Trotskyism, which was to get more countries to be able to do revolutions within the neighboring countries of Russia and the USSR. I mean, it's a good idea, but you know, forced revolutions just aren't going to happen. They have to come about by their own. And anything forced is going to be doomed to fail. I mean, it's like if we had only 5,000 people to try to storm Washington, D.C., 5,000 communists, and that was it. And that was all that stormed Washington, D.C. to try to take it over. 5,000 people compared to, you know, the whole National Guard that would try to quell that small revolution. It would just be doomed to fail, and those revolutions is gonna have to come about by themselves, and progress in their own natural ways.
Okay. All right. So I gather from talks in the group chat that you're not a huge fan of anarchists.
I'm not huge. I have. I'm not in favor of having. I don't know what do they call it. So separate organizations. Say there would be like one whole community or country. What would they call it? Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. You're talking about like anarchist, a quote unquote anarchist state separate from a communist state.
Yeah. Well, see, like, say they was able to have a anarchist revolution in California and make that an anarchist government, just that whole border. They would probably divide that up into smaller organizations and smaller borders within California and so on to rule it. And they would all be decentralized. I don't agree with that at all. I feel like if we're going to have a socialist or a communist or even anarchist government or community that's surrounded by a border, even if that border is arbitrary, that it is run as one whole government and not just one not just as separate entities governing themselves and coordinating. I feel this is kind of separate. It'd be kind of separate from my grandiose dream, quote unquote, of the Union of Communist Countries. Now with that, I feel like if we were able to have full-on communism worldwide, or socialism worldwide, that those socialist or communist states could still be independent, but we would have one local body that would be ruling all of it through the main organization of the UCCE, the Union of Communist Countries of Earth. That's my ultimate dream of what could happen.
Okay.
With communism or socialism.
Okay. So generally, kind of like in the same idea as like the UN, not as a ruling body, but as a body that works as a coalition.
Well, I would want it I would want it to also be a ruling body that would make global laws, and those laws would be upheld. And unlike today, if with the UN's laws are almost arbitrary in a lot of sense. The U.S. can, because their main powerhouse, one of the main powerhouses of the world right now, the U.S. can violate those laws anytime it feels like and get away with it. When I feel like with a socialist or communist union of Earth, that those laws would be fully upheld and fully enforced by all the other countries, no matter what country it was coming from. When today those laws are not being upheld at all by the UN.
Okay. I mean, working off of that, like, how you feel about the concept of the withering of the state, as like the Ingalls concept?
Yeah, I feel like the withering of the state can happen, and withering of all the states can happen, so that there is only one union of communist union of Earth left. I feel like that is eventually going to happen, and that's how it's going to proceed. And at this point, at that time, it may be 50 years, it may be 500 years, but we'll have most likely at least gotten over to Mars and colonized Mars some, and maybe a few other small outposts by then. Ceres, maybe the moon, of course, and maybe the cloud tops of Venus. Within about 500 years. Those colonies may or may not be fully communist. They may not be fully under the rule of the Communist Union of Earth, or the Communist Countries Union of Earth. And they may have had, at the beginning, whoever settles Mars and the moon and colonizes it, they may eventually, within 100 or 200 years, or even a shorter amount of time, have revolutions of their own and more independence of their own. And who knows how those systems may come about. If it follows I think it's unlikely that capitalists will still hold on to their power when it comes to space. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, I feel like they're not going to be likely to hold on to their power very much longer. Those people will have their power reduced by within the next, I say 20 to 30 years or so. and by American revolutions, and also possibly UN laws to put a cap on wealth hoarding, and the amount of power they can have by the large size of their corporations. I feel like those corporation sizes will eventually be knocked down to smaller sizes and broken up.
All right. Okay. That sounds like a pretty interesting future, honestly. I think I got enough to make out a good first few pages.
Okay.
Is the idea. Yeah, I think I'm good. That'll give me enough to work on for the day, and we'll move on from there.
Okay. I'll you want me to talk to you tomorrow also, because we could probably use this all up within the next 3 days, and you work on it within the next 3 days, and you work on it at your leisure, and we can get it onto I don't know, somewhere, GitHub. I know you can write up documents on there and publish them, or publish my text. I'll probably just use GitHub and publish my text on there, and put them on Facebook, and link them on different areas, I guess. Unless you know of some article places where I can publish these with like that.
Generally, GitHub is where you want to go, but I'll definitely do some research into it.
Where else do you know of anywhere else?
Not right off the top of my head. I mean, most of the stuff.
I probably use GitHub then. I know. Have you ever saw that? He's in the group chat. Bob the Average Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's used GitHub for his text. So I think I'll do the same.
That sounds like a plan. All right. Yeah. I'll get with you tomorrow, and we'll do some more, and then get with you sometime Thursday, and then I'll kind of work on it.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
And whenever we get the podcast going and get money coming and rolling in, we'll divide up that money, and we'll be paying people. So hopefully we can do that too. Might have to do it through Cash App or Venmo at first. We're looking for a treasurer of the church, but no one's interacted with those posts yet. So, I mean, eventually I'd like to get a treasurer of the church that works part-time or full-time to help us out paying people that works inside the church.